Did anybody read the minutes and find the question of the week?
I just
did.
got them, didn't I?
Well, when a prize is offered, you scroll through and then you highlight it in yellow, so it's easier.
Ooh, I have to go back.
So the question was, did we vote? And is there money?
No. Well, did we vote? Was there a vote to fund the project? And like what, if so, what was the money source that we were going to fund it with?
Right.
I don't remember. I didn't write down whether we voted on it or not.
If we use mostly money from housing partnerships funds to pay for the work that Central Mass does, then we should have the money we need to finish the Center Village from our other revenue.
Oh, this was about the housing. Let's see here.
Yeah, the
Housing production plan and a plan with CPA revenue to work.
So the money's there for housing production and the planning board stuff.
Well, I guess when you presented that topic, was that just an update or were we voting on something?
Well, did we vote? Did we vote on the Center Village study stuff?
No.
no, but I feel like,
But we voted on the housing stuff a long time ago. That contract's been signed.
right, that's what I thought.
But we haven't signed the contract for the Center Village yet.
So I'll just take that out of the minutes since there was no vote, and then we can approve the minutes with that one minor.
Nice.
Once we have a chairman.
Right? Is he in the country this week?
Yeah, he's been communicating.
Oh, that's true. He did. He sent the agenda. Hey, Tim, I had jury duty today, which I didn't get seated. Yay. But one of the women I was talking to in the jury pool used to work with James over at Briley.
Oh, huh.
Out of the 75 people I could have sat next to in that room.
Yep.
So
No,
her
he
name
was-
was Kathy. And she said,
Kathy,
tell him hi.
was it Kathy Livingstone?
No,
You know her.
she was the owner, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it was
some other Kathy.
a different Kathy. Yes. She did not tell me her last name. Are they still open?
Riley?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in Clinton. They took over the post office.
Oh, I knew they moved to Clinton. I didn't realize
You know that
they.
old post office building right there? They
Yep.
took over that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful setup for them.
Awesome.
Yeah, James enjoyed working for them an awful lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Should we text him?
Sure. Oh, there he is.
Sorry, folks, technical difficulties. Computer was unwilling to sign on.
Hate that. When I first logged on, Tim couldn't hear me.
Really?
And I'm like, oh no, my microphone, what's going to happen?
All right, well, we got some stuff, so we should jump right in if no one has any objections.
Right.
Okay, great. Good evening. This is Tuesday, April 12th, 2022, meeting of the Town of Berlin Planning Board. As a preliminary matter, please note this meeting is being recorded and that some of the attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, the ugly band t-shirt you decided to wear tonight, or anything you intend to or not screen share on your computer. Anything that you broadcast will be captured and recorded forever and ever and ever, and will possibly wind up as a TikTok video to be shared amongst your neighbors and friends. This is Tom Sanford, Chairman of the Planning Board. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipating on the agenda are present and can hear me prior to me calling the meeting to order. Planning Board members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Jay Teach.
Here.
Timothy Wheeler.
Yeah.
Carolyn McDonald.
Here.
Tom Sanford. Here. We'll get to anticipated speakers on the agenda a little bit later. With a quorum of the board, I call this meeting to I call this meeting to order at 7:40 p.m. Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. This is an open meeting of the planning board being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. Specific information and general guidelines for the remote participation by members of the public can be found on the Town of Berlin website. The governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location and allows and encourages us to participate remotely. For this meeting, the planning board is convening using the Zoom platform as posted on the agenda, which includes links for the public to join this meeting. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After their concluding remarks, I'll invite each board member by name to provide any comments, questions, penetrating insights, and/or motions. Please hold all your insights until your name is called. Board members and speakers on the agenda, please remember to mute your phone or your computer when you're not speaking. Speak clearly to ensure accurate minutes are recorded. For any response, please wait until you yielded the floor to state your name before speaking. If a board member wishes to engage in conversation with another board member, please do so through me to avoid multiple conversations at the same time. Lastly, please note that each and every vote in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Thank you all for your continued understanding and cooperation.
The link that's on the website, when you click on it, goes to a map of the town, like the address of the town building.
You're kidding.
On the agenda? That's how I get in.
Not on the agenda, no. Someone I think went to the town website.
On My Town Government?
I think so.
Because if you do it through the agendas.
Yeah, no, that's good.
On the board, that's how I got on tonight.
Yeah, no, this.
Because the link wasn't working. The other link was just running me in circles.
Wait a minute. The one that's posted on the agenda on My Town Government is the one is working or not?
Which one, Jay?
Someone told me this and I'm not sure. I thought I don't know.
Because we do have three people in the audience.
Well, I sent her the correct link.
Tom, I'm just going to ask Sue Roberts a question.
Okay.
Sue, how'd you get on?
I went to My Town Government and I clicked on the link that was in the agenda.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
Is, Carolyn, is Karen Nielsen in the audience?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, ask her. She's the one who
Okay.
got a link.
Hold on. Her hand is raised. Karen. You should be able to speak now.
I just see her hand up.
Yep. Thank you, Sue. Karen, you should be able to. Hmm.
Tom, Sue
Yes.
was wondering when we might talk about the ZBA questions in regard to the Salmon Pond Mall. It would seem to me as though it's going to have to be after we talk about the
Timely meetings,
housing
yeah.
production plan.
Yes.
So Sue, it's more likely to be like, what, quarter 9? Huh?
9:15,
Yeah, 9 o'clock, something like that.
between 9 and 9:15, yeah.
Okay, Sue?
Hold on.
Good.
All right,
Ah.
let's,
Hey, Carolyn. She's
Yeah.
on the phone. See, she's on the phone.
Okay.
She says she's unmuted, but we can't hear her and she can hear us.
Well, that was happening.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, no, there's Sue.
Yeah.
I,
I don't know. That's what was happening when I first logged on and Tim couldn't hear me.
Ah.
Having all kinds of difficulties tonight, aren't we?
Well, there's a link on the thing I sent you. You can call in this. You called into that phone number? No, you used the link, but there's also a phone number there. If you look on that email, it's got a phone number too. Yeah, that's probably the best thing to do. All right, sorry about that. Okay, yeah. Bye. She's just gonna call in when it's. time for
so
a
she's
call.
the first person, she's the A&R on Gates?
Yeah.
She's the first one on the agenda,
Oh,
What's that, 7:45?
7:40.
All right. So
Well,
Sue, did you
there.
hear what we said?
right before you promoted me to panelist, no,
I-
because I had a chick I had to go save from being stuck somewhere.
We're probably going to talk about the Salmon Pond Mall after we do the housing part, because we've got 2 NANRs that we've got to do before housing.
So it's gonna be
So-
between like 9, 9:15.
All right, so I will, I can go back to just being in the audience and you can promote me after you're done with it.
Right. So I'm going to try to do that. I have not figured out how to, if someone's a panelist, I haven't figured out how to get them back into the audience. So
don't know.
if I disconnect you, if I hang up on you, just log back in.
I was gonna say, I know how to come back. so.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So what does that do? Geez, no, I don't know where she is.
It says here to demote a panelist,
Yeah.
click on participants,
Okay.
you click the panelist tab,
Yeah.
hover over her name,
Oh,
click on more,
yeah.
and click change role to attendee.
Look at you. You and Google, telling you.
Oh, no, I knew that. I just knew that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I wonder why we're not hearing Karen.
I do not know. Let's see. All right.
Call in the phone number that's with. the
Yep.
Zoom link.
So allow to talk.
Hello, can
Karen.
you hear me?
There
Yeah.
you
Yes,
are.
hi. Yeah, I'm just, I called the number that you told me to.
Perfect, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Can you hear us?
Okay. Yes, I can. I'm trying to get back into the Zoom as well.
Okay.
Is this
All right.
Colburn, Tom, or Gates Pond?
Gates.
Okay,
So we've actually seen it. We actually approved it. And
Yep.
they made an amendment to it to add existing house and existing septic expansion. And
Well, septic and,
well,
House.
septic, okay. Right, so, I mean, it's basically the same plan with some additional.
exactly.
information.
The lenders wanted to see the neighbor's house on the plan, along with the well and septic. So the engineer didn't put it on the first time, but where their lender wants to see it, he put it on. So we have to unfortunately have it reapproved. So
Correct.
that's where we are. Nothing else
nothing else
changed on the
changed, the
land
same.
swap. No, none of that's changed.
Right.
What's the address?
The 163 Gates Pond Road is the one that they just added the house, well, and septic.
Yep.
159 was already on the plan. So their lender just wants to see where that's located.
Yep.
But the land swap that you already approved, none of that changed.
so I move that we accept a plan prepared for David Brennan by David E. Ross Associates dated 3/23/22.
Second.
Modifying, well, showing a parcel of land on, two parcels of land on Gates Pond Road. Yeah, approval under the subdivision control law not required.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will ask you to vote. Jay Teach,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye,
Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
and Tom Sanford, aye. Okay, it carries unanimous. We will, I have the Mylar and I have the copies, so I can run around and get these signed up if people are gonna be around. I probably can't do it till Saturday. If that's okay.
that's fine.
The next thing is they did give us another A&R, a Form A and a check. Does the planning board wish to exercise this option and make them pay again? Or whether, are we good with the original and we can return this additional $75?
Yeah,
That's fine.
Okay, then we are good.
Thank you.
I will put the I will tell Jay when I get everything signed up and he can notify you. I'll put the Mylar probably down at the town hall. And I'll include the check here so you can have it back.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that.
All right. You are all set.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye-bye. All right. Moving on to the next one. Oh, you're muted, Tom, somehow.
Is Seth on the phone, on the line?
He's
Yeah.
in the audience, yeah,
Audience, excellent. Okay, can you promote him, please?
I can.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi Seth, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Can you give us a quick overview of what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the record, Seth Donahoe with Dillis and Roy Civil Design Group. A few years ago, you guys endorsed an A&R plan creating this parcel. And since that time, we have received a septic permit for what's depicted on your plan as Lot 1A. Essentially, the homeowner would like to build a future dwelling on Lot 1A, and the remainder of the land he would like to build a barn on and combine it with his adjacent land at some point in the future. So we have Lot 1A, which conforms to the frontage and area requirements of the zoning bylaw, and parcel M, which is 5.6 acres, and that's labeled not a building lot on this plan.
And everybody on the board should have gotten a copy of this afternoon.
And so this is to combine those two lots?
No, it's to create a separate lot, Lot 1A. So parcel M will be combined with the applicant's other property, which is to the west, or forgive me, to the north on this one.
Do you have that so that you could share that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I missed the 1A when I looked at it earlier.
Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Lot 1A is on Coburn Road here,
Oh, I see.
and then
That's 1A.
parcel M is the remaining land in the back.
So parcel M is getting combined with the other and 1A is being created as a house lot.
It's a standalone lot, yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Can I answer any other questions on it?
I'll move that we sign a plan drawn for William Muldoon, drawn by Dillis and Roy, dated March 15th, 2022, showing parcel 1A and parcel M on Coburn Road. Have I got any book and page here? There they are. The deed references book 56674, page 33. Approval under the subdivision control law not required. That's it for me.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board members? Any questions? Seeing none, I'll ask you to vote. Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Jay Teach,
I,
and Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries and unanimous to sign this. So again, I don't know whether you heard earlier, Seth, I will run these around on Saturday to have the board members sign the plan, and I'll put the Mylar back at the town. I'll email you when I get all the signatures, so you can pick it up. I do have the Form A, but there is no check accompanying it. So
Correct. So I could not find your current fee schedule, so that is my mistake.
that's all right.
If you
So
can let me
we'll
know what it
trade.
is, yeah, exactly.
So the fee would be $75, correct? There's two lots here, and so it's $75.
Okay,
Town of Berlin. Okay,
we will deliver that to the town hall when the Mylar is ready and swap you for it.
perfect.
All right, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Great. We're back on schedule.
Nice job.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting from last
So,
time?
so moved. I'll move the minutes of March 22nd.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? does Jay want to enlighten us with the answer?
It's already been updated. And
It's
the
already been
prize
updated.
goes to,
That's what happens when you come to class late.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. So hearing no questions or further discussion, I'll ask you to vote. Jay Teach,
aye.
Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
and Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimous to accept the minutes of the meeting. Excellent job. Thank you, everyone. And next item will be a continuation of the discussion for housing stuff, housing production, and is that what you call it, Tim? Housing production?
Housing production plan, yep.
Okay. Do we have,
Emily's with us.
is she? Okay.
She's actually with us twice. So, let me, I'll pick one. So I just got a text saying that the link didn't work.
From,
Oh,
I think one of the links from when we were having live meetings.
because a number of people are getting in.
right.
But you know, we have two different websites, town websites. Maybe one of them's wrong and one's right.
Well, there's only one My Town Government, though.
Yeah, what's on the other one though? Oh, I don't know.
The one I went through is Town of Berlin, Mass.
Not My Town Government.
Mm-mm.
It actually had a link on the,
Yeah, under the agendas.
so they both have links to town board meetings. Oh, two websites. I mean, it's really cool, a little town like us having two websites, but you have to keep them
The
both.
links don't work, then it doesn't do us any good.
I mean, per capita number of websites for we're probably the top in the state.
We're leading the matrix once again.
Yeah. So is that going to create a posting issue?
Don't know.
Probably been that way. for a
So
while.
you went to government, planning board.
Yep. No, I didn't go, I went to, at the top of the banner, it says meetings and agendas. It's all the way to the left.
Hold on.
I came in through the,
Oh.
I came in through the email that we got from Mary.
Correct. Correct.
And I forwarded that email to Evie, who's here, Peter, who's here, Emily, who's here,
And the
and
link should work.
Mary, who's here now. And we sent it to Beth Brewer and a gentleman from Riverbridge. And Bob Blair. But people that I sent it to are getting in, so I'm assuming that the link I sent works anyway. Emily has her hand raised.
Okay, hold on one second, Emily. I'm just sending what I hope is the correct link. All right, that's that. Emily.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm in here twice. One is for, I was going to share my screen tonight, and one is for my audio.
Perfect.
Okay, do you want me to turn the camera on for, well, all right, yeah, let me do that. Oh, all right, Lauren found it, so that's good.
Oh, good.
All right. We're getting there. Jeez, just that kind of night, huh?
Are we all set? Emily's
Um,
muted twice, but are we waiting on somebody?
Tim, there were definitely a couple of other people that you were,
Yeah, but I
Wait,
sent him
wait.
the same link. It was Bob Blair and I've
Right.
lost his name from Riverbridge. So I mean, I'd say just, well, let's go ahead. Because Peter, Mary, Evie, and Tribe are all here, so that's good. There's Buzz. You sent him one. That's good.
oh, there he is, yep.
Good.
Mary has her hand up. Tom?
Yes, that's fine.
Just saying that I was here. I wasn't sure it was clear that you knew you had an audience. You do have an audience. How's that? That's all I
Yep.
have.
Yep.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Let's roll.
All right.
So this would be a continuation of the discussion of the last time?
Yep.
Excellent. So the floor is yours, Emily.
Okay, sounds good. So I had sent Tim an email with a few links. I had put together a draft survey that we want to get out pretty soon. Did folks have an opportunity? Did they receive the email and get an opportunity to look over the draft?
Yes.
Awesome.
Did.
Awesome. That'll make
Emily-
tonight go a lot smoother.
Yep. Emily, there's a couple of people that weren't here last time, so could you just do a brief recap?
Oh, sure. So I will be working with the town of Berlin through March of next year on a number of housing plans. First is the housing production plan, which will be approved by DHCD. It's a 5-year plan. And the second is the update to the population and housing master plan chapter, which was last done, I believe, in 2013. So we're going to be doing those plans in tandem. So essentially the next year is going to be looking like we're starting off with a survey, which we decided last meeting that we want to get that launched around when the annual town meeting is in May, I believe. I forget what the exact date of it is. But we figured that's a really good opportunity to do promotion for this plan. And then that will be out for a month or so, depending on what the response rate is looking like. And over the summer, I'll be doing a lot of data collection, reviewing the results of the survey, and planning for a workshop to be held in the fall. So that's always a very exciting interactive activities where we get a lot of good feedback on folks' vision for the future of housing in Berlin. And from there, we'll do start drafting some of the housing strategies and goals for both plans. And then developing the actual plans as well, and submit those to, the housing production plan to DHCD. That's it in a nutshell. Am I missing anything, Tim? Oh, we're also working on the housing trust fund. I forgot about that. That's the third element of this project. So I believe what's being, the language to accept an affordable housing trust fund is being brought to this coming town meeting to be voted on. And then I'll be working with the town on holding, going through the process of really getting that off the ground. So that's something that, since the town has CPA funds can be funneled into the housing trust fund, and it will make affordable housing projects so much easier. You won't have to get like annual town meeting approval for the use of these funds. It'll go straight to the trust fund, and if some land comes up for sale that you want to use those funds for to create affordable housing, you can do that. It's a really, really great tool for affordable housing projects. So a lot of great things going on in Berlin. I'm super excited. This is my first project working with the town. I work for the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, so we cover the city of Worcester and the 39 surrounding towns. All kinds of planning, community planning projects, transportation projects. I primarily work on housing, along with comprehensive plans, master plans, and whatever I can get my hands on to get experience. But this will be probably my 4th or 5th housing production plan. So I've got quite a bit of experience on those so far. So any questions, just let me know.
So I think I might have missed it. When did you say that the survey, you were trying to get the survey out?
So I believe last meeting, we decided to try to launch it around the town meeting.
Okay.
And then it would be out for probably 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. We can determine how long, that we want to set the deadline for.
Is there an opportunity to provide a handout at town meeting to like the save the date type of thing? Guess what, guys, survey's coming out. We ask you to participation, blah, 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 because we can hand that out at town meeting. And I think that'll capture a few people that might be interested in promoting this along. I did go through the survey, and one of the things that first hit me, and I know that you're trying to be data rich, it's quite lengthy. And I'm just hoping that people just don't get discouraged at the length of it and just bail or not finish it, or only do part of it or whatever. What platform is this going to be? An email? It's going to be done online?
Yeah, so the platform is through, it's this website, a survey website called SurveyMonkey, which is where we do like
okay.
all of
Yep.
our surveys pretty
Okay.
much. So primarily we'll be getting online responses, but I definitely want to print out some responses, some copies to be at some public locations like library and town hall and such. But yeah, I agree that would be great. I can draft up like a little small flyer or something to be handed out at town meeting.
I think that would be helpful. I really do.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's a great time to get people interested.
What's this
So
gonna look like on a phone?
It looks okay on a phone, actually.
Right? 'Cause, I mean, there's some questions that have 10 or 15 buttons or choices. That just takes several pages on a phone, or what?
Yeah, it's probably quite a bit of scrolling. But so last week, I know it does seem like a long survey, but I think last week or last meeting, I was told kind of just put it all out there and we can decide what we want to include, what we don't want to. So that's what we can go through this tonight and decide which questions might be unnecessary or which ones we definitely want to have in there, or the format of the questions if it's not clear or too long or something like that.
No, I mean, that was when I was going through it, I understand the reasoning behind it, but I didn't know whether it would, I'm going to ask you your opinion, because you've just stated that you had 5 under your belt. and I'm assuming that you've done these surveys in the past, is your experience been that a lengthy ones, you get enough data collection on something like that? Okay.
Like
Yeah.
what percentage of the people that you send this to do you expect will fill it out?
We typically aim for 10% of the town to complete our surveys, which a lot of the times we do meet that. Remind me what the population is for Berlin, if anyone knows off the top of their heads.
3,000 roughly.
3,000. I
Roughly.
think, okay,
Mhm.
so like 300. Yeah. I think that's a good goal.
I'm
Is
hoping that it's
10%.
way more than that. I'd be disappointed at 300 truthfully, but maybe I'm all wet. I don't know.
Mhm.
We've had better luck in the past than that when we've done surveys. But we haven't done one for a while. So, but those, I mean, in the 90s when we did it, when we were doing Solomon Pond Mall and the master plan after that, that was all paper. And the percentage was up in the 20s. So we were pretty happy. So
Yeah,
I don't,
agree with Tom, it's very, I mean, I know we're going to weed it down, but right now there's basically 70 questions. And
70 questions, yeah.
well, I mean, if you assuming that each thing you have to think about and respond on, there's 70. What I found is I try to limit them to 5, and I get
Ooh,
35.
yeah, 5's not going to work. Tom, we do have an audience member that Buzz has his hand up.
Okay. Yes, please promote Buzz.
Good evening,
Hello.
Buzz.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Buzz.
This is an interesting, sorry, technical glitches. Emily, can you, I'm Buzz Harris. I used to be on the Housing Partnership, and I've been on some other, so I'm familiar with the housing production plan, but can you outline how the Affordable Housing Trust actually ends up generating affordable housing on the ground, and what affordable housing, what does that mean? What do the units look like? What do the costs look like? I'm hearing, this is an interesting conversation, but I'm wondering in other towns, what kind of affordable housing has it created?
That's a really good question that I'm also still going to be learning along with this process, what goes into an affordable housing trust. I've done plenty of housing production plans, but this is actually my first time working directly with getting a affordable housing trust off the ground. So I don't have a super clear answer to that, but I do have a bunch of resources. We can make so we've created a Dropbox for this project, and I would be happy to forward you any materials in that Dropbox to kind of give you a better answer, because I mean, I can give you a guess, but I don't. I haven't done my research quite yet.
I wonder if you might be able to check with colleagues who've done it in the past.
Yeah.
Just to see what their experience is.
so
And I'm reading Tim's body languages. I might know.
No, I will, and before Tim starts, Buzz, it's a great question, but I want to table it because I think I want to start
Right.
with the stuff that we have on our plate for tonight, which was the survey and solidifying the number of questions, because we have a short window before town meeting, and if we're going to get flyers out and a survey out, we need to hippity hop. And I agree with you. It's a nice, figure out how to go about doing that and the mechanism behind that. I'm 100% for it. It's just
Okay.
not just at this point. Okay.
Understood.
Thanks.
All right. And one more question from the audience. Mary Porter has her hand up.
Sure. Please promote Mary.
There we go.
Tom, to your point about the length of the survey and so on. First of all, Emily, it's great. I just read through all the questions. It's great. But I think the first half of the survey, we're kind of collecting data, which you might be able to collect by not other ways. You don't have to ask the citizens for this data. I mean, we can get the about getting people to respond to the survey, and there are a chunk of the population here that isn't going to work on this electronically. So like just the formatting things, the way it's formatted is going to work on an iPad or a phone really nicely, but I don't need it, and I have old eyes. But you could compress that text from 13 pages to 9, and I'd be happy with it. Sorry, well, I read law, so. But even with the old eyes, I'd be happy with a less beautiful format. You got the really nice, image of Berlin on every page. You put it on the front, take it off the other. There's a page, right? You got a page out of the survey, and then substantively, for what I think the direction that planning and the housing trust would need, if we start on page 9, question 15, and take it through the end, I think that's really the heart of the direction that you're looking at citizens to give, I think. And prior to that, the first part of the survey is more really the information gathering to assess. So, just a comments to Tom's point. I don't know. I can stop talking and step down, but that's my feedback. But really good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree. I can take the substance of the survey and honestly just put it into a Word document, get it down to 4 pages. So much easier for people to go through. But yeah, on the online version, that might be easier for iPads and phones to keep it like that.
Yeah, I live in a hybrid world, and it's.
Is there a way that we could reverse the questions so that if we think we can get the demographic information from some other source, we include that at the end and say, please answer these first questions. Those are the important ones to us. And then if you are willing to give us more time, answer this demographic stuff. It seems as though that's helpful in some regard, because we may begin to get some patterns that tell us that certain demographics favor certain directions for us to go. But
the only thing I'd be cautious with that, Tim, is that you may not get the second half filled out way that we want. I almost advocate it'd be 2 separate surveys. I know it's an extra survey and stuff like that, but if you're going to give people an option, they're going to choose the simpler one, and that's going to be it. And then you're going to get a subset that'll finish the whole thing because they want to give us what we're looking for. But I think we run the danger of only getting a limited amount of data.
Right, but I think to Tim's point, if we're only going to get limited data, which if someone's going to bail on the survey, do we want them to answer the first stuff, and which is all the demographics, or do we want them to answer the other questions and maybe actually also answer the demographics?
I agree.
Mary, I'm
Maybe
going to put you back in the audience.
Maybe if we hook them, then they'll finish the survey. I was just thinking, if you give them an option, they're only going to take one option.
Right.
well, do you want to look at these questions, or should we throw this up on the screen and ask ourselves whether there's parts of it that we really think are unnecessary?
Yeah, let me share my screen and I can go through it now. Okay, so we have the intro part. Let me know if this is too much or missing something. I like to use the plan as an opportunity to inform people about what affordable housing really is and what 40B is, because it's just something that there's so much confusion out there that, yes, we're getting input from the community, but it's also an opportunity to inform the community as well. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. And I think that the eligibility requirements are important to leave on there.
I agree.
because people get confused and there's some misinformation out there about what really is affordable and what really isn't affordable and who's eligible and who isn't. And I think that if this is on there, it'll keep the arguments around the kitchen table to a minimum.
Okay, great. Let's just move forward for now. Okay, so we start with kind of these, demographic questions. Age, how long you've lived here. Are you a homeowner, a renter, or something else? How many people live in your household? Why do you live here, essentially? Do you plan to live here as you age into retirement?
Right. I do think some of these are, well, I think most of these are pretty important because it gives people, it gives us an idea of people's expectation of moving forward. Bob Blair has his hand up.
Can you promote Bob, please?
Yeah, give me a sec. I just have to figure out how to get, oh, hold on. There we go. Bob.
Hi, this is actually Susan Henry. I'm with Bob, listening in on this. I just want to throw out one thing to consider about these demographic questions. In my limited training and research in survey design, we were taught to always put the demographic questions at the end of a survey because they are personal. There are two reasons. One, they're personal, and so some people don't want to answer these questions right off the bat before you've kind of earned their trust in the questions you're pursuing. And so demographic questions were always put at the end after they've already answered the questions of the content you're looking for. Also, the content questions have more what we would call cognitive load. They're more demanding, and the demographic questions are quick and easy to respond to. And so they're actually more likely to be answered at the end when the survey taker is tired and they can just go quickly through those final demographic questions. So I just wanted to toss that out. That was my training. I don't know if that holds in all fields. I was in education, but that's what I was taught.
Good.
Thanks for that perspective. That's really helpful. I haven't really thought about it that way before, so I appreciate that kind of more scientific approach to it.
Okay, great. Can we keep going?
Of course. All right. Continue. How important is it for you to remain in Berlin as you age? If you were going to move out of your community, what would drive your decision to move? Got a bunch of options here. Forward. Then we get into the more affordability aspect of it. So are you comfortably able to afford your home and associated costs? Is more than 30% of your monthly income dedicated to paying for housing? 30% is like the federal standard for being cost burdened. So if you're paying more than 30% of your income towards housing costs, you're considered cost burdened.
Is that nationally or is that through Massachusetts?
That's nationally.
It's national.
Mm-hmm.
I always wonder if that's pre-tax or post-tax. Because there can be a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't most certainly federal thresholds based on gross income. Just even like whether you qualify, those income levels are all gross. So my guess would be that would be as well.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this question here, number 12, please indicate which annual household income range you fall under. This could also go under the demographic questions too, but this one paired with the number of people that live in your household would really help us get a better understanding of who is, are they meeting these like affordable thresholds? So while they're more demographic questions, I would want to see them, I wouldn't want to see people skip them. Like I wouldn't want like to see like an optional question there. Like I really want to see who might be struggling to pay for housing.
Okay.
Right, keep going. All right. This is kind of an interesting question. It was in some federal housing survey or study, getting an idea of, well, here, I'll just read the question. Hypothetically, if there was an emergency expense requiring you to immediately come up with $400, how much of a challenge would it be to pay that expense? So kind of how close are people to really not being able to afford their housing or other costs, such as food, transportation.
So is this just, I know the way that it's written, it's a general emergency of $400, but is it, are you trying to gain it or tie it to housing? Should it be worded that it's a $400 emergency expense on your house or just in general?
We could, I took this from a federal study and that's how they phrased it, but we could phrase it in a different way.
I was thinking if you had a, you had a plumbing expense of $400, is it easier to say, well, I'm close to the vest this month and I'm not going to pay that. I'm going to buy my medication or my food or something like that, as opposed to my car broke down and I need $400 for that. Or I need $400 in emergency medication. Depending on what the emergency is, it may shift whether it's related to housing or not related to housing. And maybe that question needs to be just generally asked. But I would think because this is a housing survey that we kind of need to keep it in that realm. But I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I don't know what other board members feel.
I guess I read it as implying it just any expense. Do you have the capacity to handle a $400 emergency expense? To define emergency is really in the individual situation, I suppose. It'd be hard for us to classify it.
Correct. But if you had worded it a $400 expense for the house, I mean, I guess I'm having a hard time distinguishing whether it should be an emergency, just a general emergency, or whether it should be related to housing. This is the survey is housing related, housing questions in general. Should it be in that realm or should it just be a general?
Feel like it's
$400?
too personal.
Kind of. My dog hates the question, that's for sure.
I mean, I definitely see what you're saying, Tom, and I guess it depends on how focused on housing we want to keep this.
Right.
Yeah, I guess it's less about where the $400 is going to, and it's saying emergency expense. I think it's implying you have to pay that $400 no matter where it's going to. So do you have $400 easily sitting in a bank account or cash, or is that going to set you back so much that you're going to struggle to pay for necessary things like housing or food?
Okay, I understand. I can see it both ways, and I just didn't know how everybody else felt, and I'm not trying to drive it one way or the other.
Okay, we can sit on that for a little bit and come back to it if we want to. So number 14, which of the following financial and support services specifically for housing most fits your current need? Right, there's no comments on that. Move forward. Now we're thinking about future housing needs. In your opinion, which of the following populations are most in need of increased housing options in Berlin? So who are we trying to really target with new affordable housing options? And then I put a little note about like the threshold for affordability above that question. All right, this is the really long one. So please rate the desirability of the following housing types in Berlin. So the question before that, I was trying to get more at who is most in need of increased housing options. And then we're getting into, well, what types of housing would you like to see? More single family homes or apartments or condos or maybe some tiny homes, assisted living.
I think that one's going to be really valuable.
Yeah.
So number 17, in your opinion, what are Berlin's most pressing needs related to housing and development? Right, and the next one, I kind of just threw this in there. Since the town does have CPA, I was trying to get a sense of, since it is like a added tax, what people would feel comfortable seeing that those funds go towards. So I looked up a bunch of programs that CPA funds have been used for in the past in other communities in Massachusetts, and just put a list together. What do folks think about this question? It's something I haven't used in past surveys before because I don't believe I've worked in towns that have had CPA.
I think it's important because as we move forward, trying to figure out how to target CPA funds, and especially if we've got a housing trust, you want to figure out where the support is going to be at town meeting. And if you can get some indication from some of these questions. Now, some of this is education. And I think if we look at the answers to these questions, it may very well help us figure out what it is we need to accomplish in the educational portion of this whole project over the next year. A lot of folks may look at these and say, I don't have a clue what first-time homebuyer programs would entail. But again, if we're doing our job right with some of the forums and stuff and some of the materials we send out to folks, I think we can enlighten guys, the citizens, so they're in a position to develop the support that the housing trust would need and the programs they try to push.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like this one.
Great.
Right, especially because CPA is so new to the town also. It can help steer where we focus right from the very beginning.
Yeah, I could also add like a link or something in here. If people don't know what CPA even is, just send them to the state website that explains what CPA is and what funds can be used for.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. And then just any final thoughts, people can write in, and they have the option to add their name and email address, which is really useful when we are trying to get people to register for the workshop or anything else related to this process. And
Do you
yeah.
think that we need to add any language in there about upcoming workshops or information, we're going to public forums, what have you, are, forthcoming or to be end of the summer, fall, whatever, to give people an idea that this information isn't going to go into a drawer someplace, that it's going to be utilized and, codified and discussed in an open forum?
Yeah, so this last page here, I believe I put a note. Yeah, community forum will be planned for fall 2022.
Oh, all right, I didn't see that, sorry.
Oh, no worries. And then is this a good website to direct people to if they have like questions or want updates? It's the Housing Partnership like website.
Mm. Does anybody monitor that?
I'm not sure.
If they don't, we could certainly set it up so emails that come to that site, is that an email site or is that?
So that's the Housing Partnership page on the town
Page.
website.
Yeah, I don't know, mate.
I know, well, what does that page look like?
Yeah, it may be better to send it to the planning board site.
I would
and we'd
say the planning board, even
put
though
the stuff
Jay's
on
gonna
our site
hate
and
it.
know that we were managing it.
Exactly.
And it's okay to post, because I'll want to post like the results of this survey. So is that okay to post on this planning board site?
Mhm.
Yeah, so you could link to both pages, because I'm looking at the Housing Partnership one right now. And honestly, it's no more or less informative than our pages. So, and then we can post the survey results to both the Housing Partnership and the Planning Board page.
Excellent. Okay, any thoughts on the questions? Was there anything that we want to take out, or I can go through and if we're in agreement, add more of the demographic questions to the end.
That's what I would do.
Yeah. Yeah, for these, so I've used a survey similar to this before, and it typically takes about 15 minutes, I would say. I haven't noticed a ton of drop off. Sometimes like master plan surveys, they're very, very lengthy and they will take you like at least 25 minutes to fill out. And that's when you see a lot of drop off, but I haven't noticed anything before, so I'm comfortable with the length, but let me know if there's anything that maybe seems redundant or could be reduced or.
Right, I think Mary made the point that the paper copies that we have around should be more condensed, to just a couple of pages. Because if someone picks up a packet and they're 15 pages long, they're just going to put it right back down. They're not even going to sit down and look at it.
So what happens with the paper copy? Where does it get sent, or how do we receive it?
So I'll have, I have these little cardboard boxes that I can set up that will be like drop off in whatever locations you tell me you want it at. So I'm assuming town hall, library. Do you have a senior center?
De facto is 19 Carter, if that'll be allowed.
19 Carter. Any other community locations?
Well, what's going on in the library now? I don't pay attention. Is we open?
I know, I don't even know if it's open.
Evie probably knows. Evie, raise your hand if it's open and don't raise your hand if it's not, I guess, right?
Oh, there's her hand.
So it's open. So the
it's
library,
open.
19 Carter, town offices.
Do we run afoul of federal laws if we try to shove one down the post office?
I can also make like a flyer that has like, we talked about this last week, the QR code that you scan with your phone. So
Right.
that could maybe be like posted somewhere at the post office.
Hmm.
Or I've done like little handouts before too, so people can just take them and so we could either leave surveys or just handouts that like a little half-page flyer that has a QR code on it for people to take home with them.
Okay.
I'm gonna draft up, I'll make the changes to this survey. I'll draft up like a paper copy to show you all and like a flyer and handout for, for promotion. And I'll do that all for our next meeting.
Okay.
So could you add the QR code to the handout at town meeting?
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah,
That
I
would
will
be
do that.
great because there tends to be some downtime, shall we say, at town meeting, that if someone could scan a QR code while at town meeting and fill it out on their phone right there and then, that's probably our best way to capture anybody who's going to use a QR code.
I love it. Yeah. Remind me when town meeting is.
May 2nd.
Okay.
Maybe our illustrious moderator will make a mention of it.
No, he's going to want everybody to be paying full attention.
You can make it at the end.
It's going to be a challenge getting this onto a phone.
Maybe.
Guess that most respondent, I mean, I don't know. I mean, how do you guys feel about basically surveying 10% of the people in town?
I'd be disappointed if it's only 10%.
When we did the open space plan 3 years ago now, there was so little response all around.
Yeah, there have been several surveys that have gone around town that have gotten nothing.
Right.
Very little. And for me, it's about length. It's a lot of it. It's how many decisions do I have to make? How many things do I put my brain around? And, your choices are to try to get everything all at once like this, which is a lot. I mean, it'd be great if everybody would fill out one of these. That'd be awesome. We'd have a ton of information, and we'd be not only hearing from the people who are really into it, we'd be hearing from most of the people in town, right? But to do that, you gotta be way less, it's gotta be way less challenging, right? It's gotta have fewer questions and it's gotta fit nicely on a phone. And you have to be able to have people willing to take it more than once. So what you do is you break it up and then you do more than one survey, but you do it all electronically.
We just need to identify the influencers and make sure that they do their job of influencing. Because I think,
good.
I think we can get the 10% at least. And I'd like Tom, I would be a little disappointed if it was that low, but I think the fact that we're not saying this has to be turned around in 2 weeks, and the networks that are available to the townspeople now to get the word out is far more sophisticated than it ever used to be in the past. So I think if you can get the right people saying, hey, have you filled out your survey yet? No, I think you can have some impact.
You and I are going to stand down in the soccer fields and hand out flyers, Jay.
There you go. in the dump.
Yeah, we should come up with, maybe not at this meeting, but maybe the next one, kind of a outreach strategy, maybe assign some people certain Facebook pages to post on, or things like that. Online is probably going to be our biggest success for outreach. So yeah, I'll add that to do for next meeting. Any other input on the survey?
Yeah, we have an audience member. It's either Bob Blair or his friend.
Tis when you're looking for places to pass it out and receive it back, it's possible that you would get some traction on that if you did it through St. Joe's Church. First Parish Church is not, I think, is not meeting at the church now, but St. Joe's certainly is. And in fact, might even get the church secretaries or the priests' ear in promoting the idea of responding to it.
Another avenue.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Excellent.
When are you hoping to have these back in?
So if we launch it the week of May 2nd, probably 4 to 6 weeks after that. So mid-June.
The reason I ask is because the Seniors Powderhouse News is coming out at the beginning of May. It'll be the May-June edition. It also contains a questionnaire about Council on Aging constituent needs and wants, but it certainly would be possible to have an addendum or a side piece to that saying this other questionnaire is coming out that seems very important, and you should pay attention to it and do it and turn it in.
I love that. Yeah, if I can get the contact information for someone for that, I'll send them like a blurb for it and the link.
Okay, how do I get that to you?
That's the question. Do you have Tim's contact information?
I know him somewhat, yes.
Okay. I can also just give you my email now.
I'll put the two of you in touch. Don't worry.
Okay, thanks.
There you go.
Awesome.
So for timing, we have a public hearing next meeting, right?
Right at 8.
At 8. And so how long do you think that will take? The hearing,
It's
45 minutes?
6 articles and yeah, half an hour.
At least, I'd say probably 45 minutes. So we wouldn't be able to reconvene this until 8:45.
Yeah.
Does that work for you, Emily?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm a night owl, so. And what date is that?
26th.
Okay.
So just a couple of days before.
Perfect.
So you may have to send some information around prior to that meeting for us to consider and stuff like that, so that we can make good use of our time, because we have a very short window between that meeting and town meeting.
Exactly. I definitely will. This is a priority for me.
Right, okay. So then I guess we need to, are we good with these questions and how it's, other than we may modify how it's presented? You know, question 1 might be question 11 when we rejigger it. But for the most part, are we okay with the format of the survey and the number of questions? We should decide that tonight.
So one of the things that kind of stood out to me is that it seems to be very focused on affordable housing, which we already are at our numbers for now. But I feel there should be some more questions about moderate income housing. And just maybe a little bit more focus on how do we get that middle group.
I agree, and I think Mary Porter spoke about this earlier to me today and said that that whole issue of that middle ground between the market rate housing that's being developed because that's what sells in town or can be built in town and make a profit for the builder, and the affordable units on the other end of the scale. But that mid-range is that workforce housing that we've been talking about. Is if there's a way to target a question to that, it might be helpful. The other part of that is that a housing trust can be set up in such a way that it doesn't only support housing for people earning 80% of the mean or less. In some towns build into their bylaw structure that they develop after they created the trust language that allows greater range in terms of the types of support that the community can offer. And I mean, in some communities that are east of us, you begin to see numbers up in the, over 100% of median income being able to take advantage of some of the programs. So I don't understand that clearly enough yet, but there is language in towns east of us that allows for CPA money to, it sounds like anyway. I guess I have to be careful here because I don't know where I'm going with this, but there's more options on the table than just 80% or less of median income.
Right, and a housing trust isn't necessarily, my guess would be that we could have a housing trust, but that CPA funds could only go to affordable projects, but that the housing trust could also do other work, not just that, that hard line and under.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to put it than I
Right,
did.
but that the funding could come from other sources other than just CPA. What those would be, I'm not sure, but
Well, doesn't the housing trust, I guess it's not, I was going to say, I think I'm answering my own question. It's not an authority, so it doesn't allow you to act as an agent to say build, workforce housing as a town entity. The town owns it and whatever, and would rent it. There's no town can't do that because they can't make a profit, right? But if there's a housing authority, my understanding is the authority can take that role on and act as the agent of the town. But the trust may not be set up or geared for that as a vehicle.
Yeah, I'm over my head.
Maybe we're getting a field of what we're trying to solve here with this. So,
but I do think what Carolyn was talking about and what Mary talked about earlier, the whole notion of in one of your questions, I think Emily talked about the other types of housing that we might feel is necessary. Right. So maybe it's a way to emphasize that questions somehow, or add a second part to it. I mean, that's one of the things the planning board is seriously talking about when we look at a piece like the river run piece there, where the town has the option to pick up the parcel for $1. Maybe we're talking about workforce housing there, which And Ron certainly was interested in trying to find a strategy to unlock the
Right.
workforce housing dilemma. So, and a number of towns around are doing it. Evie and I went and looked at not necessarily workforce housing, but the River Run property in Concord, and there's the stuff being done at Devon's, and Carlisle's doing some projects. And so there's a lot of that happening now. I know Sudbury's including some workforce housing. They define it that way, and in a big project over there too. So I think there's some people we could talk to about how to fill that void.
Right. A little bit of a strategy, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll think more about these comments and try to come up with either a new question or edit an existing question to kind of emphasize that.
So do we include a question that uses the dreaded phrase cluster
No.
housing?
No, no, that's the third rail. Do not do that.
So not the phrase, but the concept.
The concept is fine. Don't use those words.
Okay.
I think that's a lightning rod.
Well, the concept is in one of the questions, right? It talks about more housing than is allowed by zoning in certain areas.
Is that on one of the lengthy ones, options? I think it
Let's
was.
see. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, cottage housing community, is that it? No, that's not it.
Yeah.
Clustered
Well-
around a common area. So that it's basically in there, clustered around a common area.
No, there was,
Is that
there was another place.
the
Okay.
open space residential developments? Is that the same thing? Where it's certain houses are clustered more together if open space is preserved elsewhere?
That's the concept.
Yeah, okay. Do you have a bylaw for that or no?
No, we don't.
No, okay.
No, we talked about working on it though, remember?
We've worked on it several times
Oh,
over the last 20 years.
well, but after, I remember going to one of the CM RPC educational workshops, talking about that and some other new concepts in zoning, and we said, yeah, maybe we should take a look at that because it does make sense.
I'm 100% behind it. It's just we got to couch it in different words.
Yeah. Great. So where it was in here. Oh, here it is here. It's on question 18, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Construction of new housing on small lots that do not conform to existing zoning requirements.
I'm okay with that wording
AKA
too.
cluster zoning.
Doesn't say that.
Oh, I think that's infill. Because it's a small lots that typically wouldn't, they'd be too small to, yeah, that conform with the existing zoning. So I think that's technically called infill housing, which is a different thing.
Well, maybe that's a phrase we need to adopt.
What, infill housing?
Yeah. Or so, I don't, oh, so that's I see. So that's a phrase where it's not a community. It's you put, yeah, okay, never mind then.
It's not going to work with wells and septics and the
Right.
setbacks and everything else. So
Right,
it's a nice idea, but I don't think it's going to work here.
right.
Should I take that option out?
Well, leave it in there. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if people are interested in that. Doesn't hurt.
Unless we're going to have that long list of choices, why don't we put co-housing on there? I'd kind of be interested in
Put co-housing on. I'd be fine.
how
with
people
that.
feel about co-housing in Berlin. Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
We do have it already.
That's why. Would you like to know whether it's what people's
What people think about it?
impression of it is? Yeah.
Sure.
I think this list is kind of a exclusion list, though. When you ask people they want something and there's no cost, they can just check the box and we get it. What they do is they only don't check the boxes that they don't like. So you find out from what people don't like more than what people do like.
We could also narrow it down and say, what are your top three?
Well, I think what Jay said is true. I think you can get a good indication by what people don't choose as much as what they do choose.
Right.
Good. I like it.
Yep.
I wondered if any of our audience members have any other questions before we sum this up.
I see no hands. Oh,
Oh,
Do we have a
Bob,
question?
you're up.
Yeah. Just one question, which I think relates to this. Is there any concept within making funds available to help people who live in housing that suits them now, but that is in terrible condition, to rehabilitate them so that they are able to remain in those homes, but in an enhanced state of repair?
Yeah, so things like CPA can be a little strict about that because it has to be used towards affordable housing, and affordable meaning like capital A affordable, deed restricted housing. It can't just be, oh, like I need my roof needs repairs, just apply for that. It has to be in specifically affordable housing. But there are programs that could be created that maybe don't need to meet those requirements too. I'm just thinking CPA.
mm-hmm.
So I think when we were developing the CPA plan, we were trying to include those sort of scenarios, especially because we don't really have anything else to spend the affordable dollars on right now anyway. And I think, and it's actually interesting now that you say this, because I think we were under the impression that as long as people met certain income requirements, whether their house was deemed capital A affordable or not, that they would still be able to possibly get some money for, whether they qualify for reduced taxes or, there are other metrics that that are out there that can be used that don't just pertain to a building that's already designated affordable housing.
Yeah, that actually sounds right. I might be wrong in what I said.
Yeah, at least that was what we put in our CPA plan. Hopefully, we were properly advised on that.
Okay, yeah, I think you're definitely right in that.
Yeah, the other part of it is that we do have money that is in the housing pocket that isn't CPA, that is going to have to be utilized in some fashion, and the trust will be able to tap into that, and it might be used for programs that are outside the guidelines of CPA if we find that that's the case. So,
right. Bob, does that answer your question?
Yeah, pretty much. I think, well, I mean, yeah. I think what I had in mind was Lancaster COA learned of a resident who was senior and of limited means, whose roof was a disaster, and they're going to wind up getting drowned out of their home and then become a case where they had to find housing at that point, which presumably would mean that they would be looking for affordable housing, even though they had a house they could afford if it were in good repair. And they put together a group of contractors and volunteers who put a new roof on the person's house. So I'm just wondering if and maybe you've already addressed this, if their CPA or non-CPA funds could be used to provide low-cost loans to make that sort of repair possible, so that someone could remain in a home without having to be jumping into the market for affordable housing or some other place to live.
That topic is definitely front on the minds of the CPA committee.
Good.
And is a goal to figure out what mechanism can be, what mechanism do we have to create or already exist to allow that to happen?
Excellent.
Yep. But yeah, especially, it not only helps the person stay in their home, but, on a broader scale, it helps because if this person has to move out, theoretically anyway, they're abandoning their home. So there's now an abandoned home, and so it's good for the community as well as the individual.
Right.
Yep. Tom Sue Roberts.
Can you promote her, please?
Yep. Sue.
Hey, with that though, I know the zoning board might have issues with funding someone to stay in a house that would look for affordable otherwise, but then there'd be no way to prevent that house that was just repaired from going on the market and being sold and resold and it becomes not affordable. I
Right.
think
No, that at least when we talked about it at CPA, we definitely, there would be restrictions.
so. It would become the funds used on a regular house would make it deed restricted afterwards.
The loan would be conditional, whether it's that you stay in your house for a certain number of years, or that if you sell your house within a certain number of years, the loan gets paid back, or
The healthy penalty.
yeah, that the goal is not to get your house on the market for resale. The goal is to get your house repaired so you can stay in it. So there would be restrictions to incentivize it to work that way.
Okay, yeah, because I know that from our point of view, we're always worried about having, for example, the apartments are affordable at the moment, but if they convert to condos, then we lose all those affordable units. And I know that's a huge concern on the zoning end of it.
Excellent. Good to keep that in mind too.
So we all set with the questionnaire?
I believe so.
I think so.
I'm good.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for your input, everyone. I'll make these changes accordingly, and I will see you at the next meeting on the 26th.
Yeah, 8:45.
8:45. We'll be there.
Perfect.
I'm
Thanks,
glad you all
Emily.
meet remotely.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Emily.
Good night.
Okay, so Mr. Wheeler wanted us to put on our timely agenda items, a discussion for what's going on at Salmon Pond Mall. Is that correct?
That's right. And Sue's here. She wants to, I think they're facing a hearing tomorrow. So I think she wanted to chat with us about their situation.
Sue did, oh, hold on, let me promote her first so she can actually talk.
Hello, I'm here.
Sue, do
Can
you
you hear me?
know if you guys got a letter from conservation about what's happening over at Salmon Pond?
I don't know if I saw a letter. I do know there was a concern about things being stockpiled that close to the river.
Right, and we, I'll make sure that, I'll see if Maddie got that out. I don't
Okay.
even know where the time went.
It is something that we're aware of. So one of the things that was brought to our attention was the way the overlay district is written, and you may already be aware of this, is that the planning board takes over as authority for approving any site plans, which they're called development plans. So if it gets confusing because are they applying on the overlay district or are they applying on the base zoning that's underneath? And the reason it's confusing is because if they are applying based on the light industrial, they are also making a change to the development plan. And the development plan is under the jurisdiction of planning board, but the special permit for light industrial is under the jurisdiction of the ZBA. So it gets very confusing. And because this is a temporary special permit, we have the added problem of having the decision recorded at the Registry of Deeds, which is a permanent act, whereas this is a temporary site plan. So we've requested advice from town council regarding that temporary versus permanent. But the other issue is who should actually be making the decision when we have overlay districts. And in this particular case, the zoning enforcement officer has sent it to us. And so we have to hear it. And that's where we stand. The only other thing that I could find, and I just have to blow this up bigger so I can read it. In chapter 40A, section either 11 or 2, because I didn't write it very clearly. It says, when a planning board or department is also the special permit granting authority for a special permit applicable to a subdivision plan, the planning board or department may hold the special permit public hearing together with a public hearing required by another section. So it can be a dual approval. Two boards can hear the special permit process. And I think that may be something that we have to add in to one of the bylaws or all of the overlay districts. But that's where what I researched. I can't speak for the whole board, but that was what I researched on it. So there, I'm done talking. So.
So I see the difficulty in that the impact of whatever happens if we just look at this as an industrial zone stretches onto the authority of the planning board when it comes to the overlay. And if the ZBA were to say, sure, you can have this industrial use on a temporary basis on this part of the parking lot, The assumption then is that that parking lot isn't available for a certain period of time. And, you know, if Sears isn't there right now, you know, maybe you can get away with that. But if somebody else comes in and inhabits Sears and there's parking that's been eliminated as a result of this agreement to allow a use for multiple years, it screws up the development agreement language that the planning board has authority over. So, and
Yeah,
then it's complicated too by the fact that there used to be school buses that were on the site. The town hit them up for a while for whatever they could get, excise tax or personal property or whatever. And they abandoned Berlin and went over to Fox Road and Hudson and established there, but they've maxed out that site and they're back here in Berlin again. And I was talking to Molly the other day and she said she's been sending letters asking, you know, what's going on and not getting much response, but there's already some significant use of the parking lot for that. So, and again, that's a question of who should have had authority. And it seems like it probably falls back on the planning board's seat. And I think probably we've got to bite the bullet and spend some time listening to these folks and going through the process of reviewing what their request is.
A representative from the construction company came into conservation last week. And I did ask him about the school buses and he just said that they weren't going to be there. So I don't know what the school bus plan is, but I definitely did ask. But you're right. It need whatever happens, whoever makes any decision over there, it needs to be very clear that it's temporary.
Over where? The Solomon Pond Mall or zoning board?
Yeah, Solomon Pond Mall.
Okay.
That the activity is temporary and maybe even temporary because Sears is empty.
And can it be stipulated that as long as this contractor yard is in effect, that it cannot be rented? They cannot rent out the Sears lot, the Sears building rather.
Or if they get a tenant, the contractor yard has to move.
Yeah.
Because we'd rather incentivize the renting of the building than the use of the parking lot for storage.
And the other thing that I don't know how to find this out, I don't know if someone else does, but are they limiting the site of the contractor yard to the number of spaces allocated for Sears? Or have they taken over more of that? Because they've got two sites actually highlighted on their site plan. There's a small one towards Donald Lynch Boulevard, and then there's the large one back by the river. And I don't know how to determine whether the number of parking spaces they're taking up is what has been allotted to the Sears department store, or if they're taking more or less.
That's interesting because I did ask him also about the shape of, you know, like, so the upper area by Donald Lynch Boulevard, there's that, you know, say a parking area this big, and they've got a square carved out of it, like in the middle, not exactly the middle, but it's an odd shape and an odd way to do it. And he said it had something to do with who owns what property. And again, it was more of a curious question, so I didn't press him on that, but
well, it was one I was going to ask tomorrow night. So
yeah,
if I get an answer, I'll let you know.
That would be helpful.
But
Peter sent me information earlier today that showed tenancy in Solomon Pond and the percentage of spaces essentially that are available. it didn't talk about square footage, but, you know, there's this, I guess, big question as to, you know, what's the future of the site anyway? You know, do they have the capacity to spring back? If we assume that they're looking to try to fill Sears with some alternative use, they haven't said to the Economic Development Committee or us what that use might be and whether there needs to be modification to the zoning to allow it. I mean, there's certain guidelines as to the uses that can be placed in that site. If they're looking for a 2-year window to run this construction operation, it does seem to have some impact on the possibility of coming into the site with alternative uses within that time frame. And I can't see how that's to the benefit of whoever the entity is that owns it now or the town. So the parking in the front of the building is in Marlboro, I guess, right? Or is that still Berlin?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it
might
is.
still
Yeah.
be Berlin. Sears is all in Berlin, so they might very well be. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it could be because we're hearing it on both of those little
Yeah.
parcels.
So it must be all Berlin.
Yeah. But you see our predicament. I mean, if we give a decision and it gets recorded at the Registry of Deeds, that's something permanent.
So you haven't heard from town council yet, though?
Not that I'm aware. I'm assuming we will tomorrow night. I don't know.
Is town council going to be there tomorrow night?
I hope so.
Oh, okay.
I'm just a lowly associate member. I'm not privy.
Oh,
to-
baloney. Yeah, baloney. That's not why you're getting sent to talk to us. You're high on the list now, obviously.
Yeah, or I'm a
So-
sucker. I don't know.
Lynn said that she would really like to have someone from the planning board be there tomorrow night.
Yes.
Carolyn and I have an excuse. We have to be at a Community Preservation Act committee meeting.
And
So
I have
unfortunately,
school.
we can't be there, but what did Tom say?
I said I have school.
We have school. Oh, anybody else available?
I have a doctor's appointment.
You gotta wash your hair, right?
Here's to wash his cat.
Yeah, I might be able to do that. When is it?
We start at 7 p.m.
How do I get on? How do I get the link?
We should also be on My Town Government, which
If the link works.
Yeah.
it
I need
should.
a map of where the town building is.
But I believe that it's first on our list tomorrow night, so that should be starting pretty close to 7:30, so you don't have to stay up late. But I think we will, for the rest of the overlay districts, if something similar to this arises in the future, we need to have something in place to be able to deal with it. And so like I said, the only thing I found is the provision that allows a dual special permit granting authority.
So that sounds like a great question for town council to evaluate, right?
Yes, I think she was focused more on how do we record the decision for something temporary?
Yeah.
Without accidentally making it permanent.
So this is Amy?
Yes.
Okay.
And so it has to be heard by you guys because the building inspector gave it to you
Yes.
and you can't kick it back.
Oh, we can, I guess we can vote on it and see whether or not it gets approved or not. I have a feeling it's going to be continued because the site plan as it stands is not in compliance with the requirements for the hearing. So it would have to be continued for that. Also, because the letter from Solomon Pond Mall says, instead of saying starting in June 1st, 2022, it says June 1st, 2002. So, and it also says for 12
For 2
plus
years.
no, it just says for 12 plus months. There's no end date.
Oh,
And I'm looking at that saying I can't approve that, but
right.
we'll hear what happens tomorrow night.
And
Right,
Amy
because-
may very well say to you, you don't have the authority in this case that's complete enough so that it ought to go back to the planning board.
Yeah, a lot of times we ask for the feedback from the other boards, as you know, conservation and Board of Health and all of that. So I don't know if what's going to happen, what Lynn's going to suggest, but I know I would suggest having an approval of the development plan from the planning board, because this is a change to the development plan.
Modification.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then if that gets approved, do they have to come back? How do we write a decision that says they have to come back and have it approved to put it back to the way it was before?
Yep.
And what are the odds that that would really even happen?
Right. Which goes back to why we talked to Amy for finding out, how do you make a temporary approval for something that gets recorded permanently?
Right.
Yep. All right. Good luck, Jay.
Looks
So
like it'd
keep
be a
your,
nice place for a ATV race course or something. It looks like almost all the parking lots in Berlin, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Most of the front and all the back.
yeah. But keep your calendars clear for the May hearing, zoning board date. I can't talk. It's getting close to my bedtime, because we might need you then.
May, do you know the date?
It's somewhere, it should be around the 12th, because it's usually the second Wednesday of the month.
So that would be the 11th.
Yeah, where's my phone?
I will put it on my calendar.
Yeah, I can tell you in about 2 seconds. Yes, 11. Yeah.
Great.
All right.
So that's all, folks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night. So the only other thing on our agenda is additional timely items, and do we need any discussion about last minute stuff before the hearing for next meeting? We did get the stuff published in the paper.
I sent it, they verified that they received it, and they sent me proof of their, the proofs. I haven't seen physically the paper, and so I always sort of wonder, but they're pretty good, so I think it's gone in.
Okay.
And what have we got? 6 articles, so,
Right.
you know, it's we can have a good time with those at our hearing and see what happens.
And we can take them all up at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have another timely item from the email.
Okay.
As predicted, someone would like to come talk to us about what they can do with the property they just purchased at 256 Central Street,
Excellent.
AKA Mo's.
Good.
I was thinking of pointing her towards the zoning bylaw, telling her what zone it's in, and asking you to put her on the agenda for the next meeting. She's working with Waterman.
Oh, well, that's good anyway.
I think it may take more of an extended conversation than we can accommodate next time, but if they're wanting to come in for a short period before we start the hearing, but they got on, I think we
She
did just
said
have to
that,
understand it's short and sweet, right?
Yeah, she said that Waterman was drawing up a bunch of plans for us to look at. So
Did
probably.
she say who at Waterman?
Yes. But I have to find it. Actually, it was a person with the last name Waterman. David, is
So-
it Dave?
Brian?
Oh, here it is. Randy
Is there Randy?
Waterman, engineer Randy Waterman. Maybe it's not the same firm, I don't know.
Is it Waterman Design? Oh, no, I think they changed their name to like WD or something.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
someone
right.
else. We would like to develop a place, would like to get some input, what will be allowed. We've contacted engineer Randy Waterman and draw us up a couple of plans that we would like to show you. And she left her phone number.
Well,
I don't see-
we have, 20 minutes or so before the hearing. And then after the hearing, we're going to be talking to Emily and finalizing stuff for that.
Right.
We have to also have a vote, right?
Right.
So we can report it to town meeting.
Yep.
And that's our last meeting before, unless we schedule a separate one just for the vote. So if they want to have a short little conversation and it's short, 20 minutes tops, then that's okay. But if not, it's going to have to be the meeting after that.
Yeah,
And the only 2 points I'd make to them is that they show us a plan that recognizes it's in the residential agricultural zone and that the significant portion of land has a conservation restriction on it.
Right.
And wetlands.
Right. And there was some other agreement with Mo, right? Even though it's an RA, there was some agreement about what could be done there. Does any of that, none of that carries forward, right?
Mo never came in and got approval for anything that I know of.
Oh, I thought you said he did. Okay.
Well, he said to Tom Andrews, "Thank you very much. I'll go get my gun."
One way to handle it. All right, well, I'll tell her that, because it seems like, I don't know, before she spends a lot of money designing a shopping mall or something, that you might want to,
Just do a brief.
At least some guidelines on what can be done.
Yeah, we don't.
I send her the link to the bylaw. I mean, they may already, they've probably already gone through it, but that would give them some idea of what can be done.
I just question whether they fully appreciate that the CR is so restrictive on that site. So,
Yeah, it's a good point. I'll make sure she knows that.
and I don't know, is anybody,
No,
Oop, you cut out. Can you say it again?
He froze.
he froze.
Oh,
Like for real froze.
I'm
Oh, there he is.
Oh, he's back.
Does conservation have a clear idea where the CR line is?
Have you seen that map?
I've seen the map, and it
map.
seems like 2/3 of the properties in the CR.
Correct, but I don't know exactly where the boundaries are.
In the ARC zone that we voted, if you look at that, I think it probably refers to the CR somehow, but there's ARC zoning on that too.
Where would you get a copy of the CR document?
It's online at the Registry of Deeds.
Okay.
And I definitely have a physical copy, and there is a physical copy in the file drawer at the town offices if they can't figure out how to get a copy.
Yep.
But I'm sure Randy Waterman, that name is definitely familiar. So
Could you send the copy you have around? Is it scanned? Just so that we're prepared.
it is not scanned. I actually need to, we have someone coming in for 299 South Street to our next meeting also. The church people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, church people who want to build the church. I'm assuming it's the same people that came to our last meeting before that. I don't know for a fact. So I should probably scan that one also. I'll see if I can download it off of the Registry of Deeds. I can just do it that way.
Very good.
I'll see what I can do. You don't have a copy?
Oh,
You, Jay?
just because I'm the secretary, clerk, whatever, you think I have everything?
No,
Because you're the
no,
owner.
because you live there.
It's on your land too.
No, it's not the
It
one.
is. It is absolutely the same one.
It is?
It
Yeah.
is.
Oh, then I guess I do have it.
Yeah. Can you scan it?
I have it digital. Yeah. I don't know where the paper one is. Huh, I'll check it out.
Oh, if you got a
It's got
digitally,
all of the combined, the Chedco, all the Chedco
Yep.
land all on it.
Yep.
if you've got it digitally, send it around.
I can do that.
That'd be great.
Find it.
Because I got paper too, but
Yeah. Well, and I was telling you before that what's in the state, in the state database has a different lines on it than it's on the document.
Really?
Well, that would be interesting to compare.
right.
Yeah.
Huh.
So the
Yeah, that makes-
document that you have is, why is that different from?
Well, the barn, the tractor barn that we have down by on Central Street.
Yep.
There's a moderate amount of space around that that's outside the CR in the Chedco document. But when you go to look at it on the what's the name of the data, this the state database online, it shows it as just the building being outside the CR.
Huh.
Someday
It'd be
I should-
interesting to see what the property on Central comes out as.
They could be different also, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
because we've assumed it's
Oliver,
the
right? That's the online thing, Oliver? Is that what it is?
Oliver, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually the Mass Mapper now.
Yeah.
Oliver retired. Yeah, it's that one that we were looking at when Tom was when Dad was out of state.
So then Jerry, the apple orchard would be on that also, is that right?
Yep, all the way up to Sue Roberts' property.
Yeah, we were just talking about it today, huh?
Yep.
She's building a house down there.
She is?
Jerry's moving to town.
Oh, yeah. They're tearing down the house
Right.
on the property that he owns and building a 5-bedroom, I think.
4.
4.
And it's over a little bit. You can see it. They've got their mic sticking in the cellar hole right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to approve the building permit for conservation. And
Oh.
the septic is right in the front yard on that hill.
Yeah.
Or actually isn't it a bit of a gully right there in the front?
It's kind of on a hill. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went down today looking for his animal displacement permit. Had told me he had to shut the whole thing down. Because the donkeys just disappeared. He claims they ate them, but I don't believe it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's got a lot of kids to feed.
Well, there's only 82,000 files on my computer, so all I have to do is find out which one has that document.
There's a little thing that looks like a magnifying glass, the search.
What's that that's for?
With any luck, you named it something searchable?
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what that would have been. I
right.
think there was a bunch of email, but I think we've already covered all of it. Yeah. I believe so. Oh, from last week, 2 weeks ago. This thing about Dudley Road, we never really brought that to conclusion. Is that okay, or?
What was it again?
Was Dudley Road discontinued by the town? And if so, was it recorded? Tim said the vote was passed over twice at town meeting. Somebody asked, did we accept chapter 40, section 6, allowing the town to plow public roads? ? And that was the end of it. But nobody's come asking for any more from us, right?
I would think we'd have to look at the ZBA decision in regard to the private way that was created. Because I would think that would supersede any of this. And that instead of arguing that there was already a public way and the town had a responsibility for it, I think it's on the current owners of the way to come to town meeting and petition that it be accepted as a town way and let the town decide whether that's something it wants to do.
Yeah. But Tom, you haven't heard any more questions from them, so
No.
I'm gonna let it sit for now. I think that's it. Yep. Guess the CR probably didn't have an exception for churches.
Did not. No, it's I read it again today just to make sure, and it's pretty solid. You know, like no disturbing of soils, trees, or grasses within the CR.
No, that's not in mine.
No, not yours. I'm sorry, the other one.
You're
That's
talking about
South
one.
Street. That's the church is over on South Street. But that's,
wow.
I mean, like, it's hard to get around that. Yours doesn't say that.
No,
No.
we just can't bring in toxic waste and that kind of stuff. I think it says no horses, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no farming. Yeah, so.
Well, they
Right,
could kill
kids.
two birds with one stone. What they could do is put the church in the Sears.
Right?
What they did with the righteous gemstones, since, former Sears. Of course, that's fiction, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Actually a great spot for a church because it's an easy place for people to go. There's tons of parking. There's big open spaces,
There's a Starbucks. Actually, I think the Starbucks closed, but
I don't know, if
Yeah.
I was opening a church, I'd seriously consider that. It's probably too expensive because usually churches can afford a lot.
right. And it's probably like 7 times more space than they need.
Ceilings aren't that high. Well, I guess they probably would be. It's probably drop ceiling.
No, they're pretty high anyway. If I remember correctly, yeah.
Okay, kids.
Motion?
Yes, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, I'm on
Motion.
Mapper, map, whatever, looking at this, trying to find this property, but
Okay, got a motion and a second.
I'm lousy at this.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask you to vote. Jay Teach, Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
and Tom Sanford, aye. Motion to adjourn.